From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob Cairns. I'm the founder, CEO, and Chief Digital Strategist at Stunning Digital Marketing. In this podcast, we have Marketing with Bridget, Willard, and we're going to talk about the power move on social media, hitting the reply button. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. The SDM Show is brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, the digital marketing concierge that helps you put all your marketing pieces together. We are your marketing experts. We are also your WordPress security experts and know how to lock down a website and protect yourself from bad actors. So contact us at Stunning Digital Marketing today.
I'm not going to turn into a pumpkin.
Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. And today I've got my good friend, Miss Bridget Willard. How are you, Bridget?
How's it going, Rob?
It's going. It's winter and cold, and at the time of this record, we have more snow coming this weekend. So would you like some?
No, thank you. My friend from Wisconsin called me this week and said, it's February. Everybody's like rustling up drama because there's nothing to do. I'm like, go skiing. You're young. You could do this.
Yeah. It's funny. I grew up in Montreal and there was 10 times more snow than here, and people complain. And I just say it's winter. You got to dress for it. And I'm out and about, and we have things to do this weekend. So, life is good.
Yeah.
Today in your marketing segment, we were thinking we'd talk about what the power move on social media is and why. So why don't you dive into that?
The reply button. And I cannot state this enough because and actually I've been ranting about this ever since I started managing social media. Or even remember when people used to comment on blogs?
Yep.
Like that was like so the power move. I've been cleaning up broken links on my site, and I had like 12,000 or 1,200 comments that I just deleted. Because people's blog posts aren't even their website addresses are all
The
different
the
now.
pro the problem though with commenting on bot, and before we get into the real power move, is I think that's been replaced a little bit because what people are doing is sort of making comments to post on Twitter, Twitter/X, Facebook, and other social media sites.
Right.
So much so that, right or wrong, I decided a long time ago I didn't want to manage all the spam. So I just turned them all off and said, forget it, because people are going to go to social anyway, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing. It's like I haven't gotten a comment on a blog post in 100 years, so it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter. So when we're thinking about having our businesses and getting people to know who we are, to do that business development, biz dev,
Hmm.
we want to be seen. And you
Yes.
want to be seen in places that other people will see you that already don't know you.
Mhm.
Okay? So that this is why you join Chamber of Commerce, BNI. Like
Yep.
if you're looking for the analog version of this, is you want to be invited to those mixers, you want to join those clubs, and you want to be visible and be invited. And so the thing is, on social media, what you're going to do is you're going to find somebody else's post and reply to it.
Hmm.
Now, there's two kinds of replies. And there's I recently heard, okay, I'm like hijacking myself. There's two kinds of replies. There's a like, hey, that's awesome, 100%, I totally agree with you. Congratulations, like you just had a baby. Congratulations. There's that reply. There's the human
Hmm.
element reply, which is always a good thing. If you're a human and you see somebody else post their humanity, you have a chance to respond with empathy and um, and something that makes you proud to be a human, then do it. So
Yep.
for me, that means if you say, I just got promoted at work, I'm going to say what I would say to you in person. That's the rule. So a lot of people say, oh, there's one word comments are just bots and they're garbage. I've had this argument for years. But when we're having a conversation with somebody, okay, and they
Mhm.
say, hey, guess what, Bridget? I just got a new client. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Or, my dad died last week. I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry to hear that. Um, sometimes people will just ask questions. Like there's kind of that, um, it almost looks spammy now, but it was just normal to ask questions so you could get to know people.
Mhm.
Like, are you going to root for Kansas City during the Super Bowl this year? And you would say,
No,
yes, of course. It's
no,
my Aunt
no.
Patsy's favorite team. Or, I mean,
Mm.
sometimes you're like, nope, yes, yep, nope. Do you use this tool? Yes. Like, it's some of them are just naturally one word answers. And this is still a very good place to be, to train your feed. Like, if
Mhm.
you are seeing stuff on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, or Facebook that you don't want to see, but especially LinkedIn, Twitter, just ignore it
Yeah.
and do the opposite. So even to train the algorithm on what you want to see, you should be commenting.
Mhm.
And so that's just, I mean, there's a bunch of reasons. You build outreach, you build compassion and connection with other businesses, especially if you know that there's other businesses in the parallel industries of yours, and or you have friends who have small businesses. You
Yep.
should be commenting as a way to zero cost help that small business.
No,
There's a lot.
I agree with you. And not only that, you're building a relationship with the people you're commenting with, and that's the most important thing.
Yes, yes, that's one word, and it says it all, but emphatically with all my body language. And if
Yep.
you're not listening to if you're just listening, I'm sorry. Body language is like my thing.
Yeah.
So, so I always say, and this is what I talked about a lot in my book, Keys to Being Social. It's still on Amazon. It's still true. It's still available. It's the humanity, the motivation, the behavior that matters to build relationships.
Yes.
Mirroring, active listening, not listening just to go like, well, I can't wait to say da 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 da, blah, 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 blah. And if I've lost you in the first whatever minutes of this, you're like, whatever, which is always, I'm not going to do that. It's a waste of time. Blah, blah, blah. You can do this in just a few minutes a day. It's really not that hard.
Hmm.
Um, I have a 3-2-1 method for connecting on social media and like really like ramping it up. And it's connecting or following 3 people a day. So it's really originally of LinkedIn, but it applies everywhere. Replying to 2 other people's posts, 2 of them, and
Yep.
then putting an original post. Like
Yep.
that's like you can literally do that in 5 minutes a day. Do it while you're drinking your Earl Grey tea and move on with your life. Or if you're really trying to build a business, which is something that I'm very good at. Like I built Give WP, I built Graywell Farms, I built, Briggs Construction. I built all these brands from like nothing. That's like so that this is if that's what you want to do, if you feel like you don't have enough reach, you're not hearing from the right people, this is what works
Yeah.
over and over and over and over and over again. And there's a second reply move. Now that this is there's so if you're like, okay, so the humanity stuff, maybe I'm not good at small talk. Now I'm gonna say small talk is the social glue, and it always has been. So before I get to that other part, so I'm like intentionally leaving out the second half so people will finish listening. But Rob, this social capital of kind of I can trust you with this conversation. Where
Yep.
everything seems fine. Maybe I want to take this further. Maybe I can try doing this one thing with you. Oh, that worked out. Like whether you think of it as dating or a secured credit card that you have $500 on, and then the credit card company trusts you more and they raise your limit and raise your limit and raise your
Mhm.
limit. Or you think of it as, hey, I do enjoy that person. Let's go have lunch. Oh, yeah, we should do business together or we should get married. Like, whatever the reason is that you're doing this,
Yep.
um, or refer work or whatever, like, think of it in your own use case. But this is human behavior. And so that's what I'm always, when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter what the tech is. What matters is who do you want to be when you wake up in the morning and look yourself in the mirror? Who do you want people to think you are, which hopefully is the same as who you want to be when you wake up in the morning and look
Yeah.
yourself up in the mirror?
Yeah.
And how do you want to be known? How do you
True.
want to be remembered?
True.
This is high level stuff. I'm very good at giving, the tactical steps, but you have to remember the reason why you say, I'm so sorry to a stranger is what if that person was sitting next to you at the
Mhm.
doctor's office and they just started chatting with you?
Yeah.
Are
Yep.
you just going to turn away because you don't want to hear it? I
Yep.
mean, that kind of social interaction is really what bonds us as humans.
It's true.
And I cannot emphasize the importance of this enough. Now, not everybody wants to do this. Not everybody's good at it. I totally get it. Sometimes it can feel forced,
Hmm.
and sometimes it is because um, it's not always easy to have um, conversations that you're uncomfortable with
Yep.
or conversations that are heavy.
But
A
having
good
but having heavy conversations and uncomfortable, whether it's on social media or in your personal life, off social media, or in business or anything else, is important because you can't grow if you don't have those conversations.
Exactly. And sometimes we forget, but it's like, even if you have a really good relationship with somebody, like for example, my very good friend Heather Newby called me yesterday and had a great conversation with her. I was actually apprehensive of talking to her because she was a friend from California. We used to go to church together. We used to sing together on the worship team. She's actually does the backing vocals on my album Come Away. It's still on iTunes or whatever you call it now. I say that ironically, it's Apple Music. They're sponsoring the Super Bowl that Chiefs are going to win. And now I'm just razzing you. But anyway, and I really was like, she's like, I'm tired of texting. Can I call you tomorrow or something? I was like, ooh, I don't really want to give her this. Like if you haven't had those touch points,
Yep.
then sometimes it's harder. It's hard to be engaged. But I'm going to tell you something. As soon as I heard her voice and she said, "How are you, B?" It was like I saw her yesterday
Hmm.
because we had all of those experiences since I've known her for the last almost 25 years.
Yep.
No, it has been 25 years. It's been 25 years. Yeah, because her daughter used to be in my Sunday school class and she's turning 29. Like this is because you've built that foundation with somebody and you're still connected on social media. Like I like her little, I thought it was hot yoga, but I guess people do Pilates on the floor now. Like,
Yep.
what do I know? I'm just trying to be encouraging because it takes a lot of guts to be like, I did my
Yep.
1600th day of Pilates. What are you
Especially
gonna do? Just not say something?
especially for people who just start working out, like it's a big deal. Um, to go, I know, like my partner Tiz goes to the gym 3 days a week, does yoga, and one day is always, for example, Saturday morning, and it's always, oh, I can reschedule my class, and I'm like, no, because that's important. So yeah, it's a big deal. I mean,
Yeah.
I walk almost every day unless it's freezing out. So, I'm not too. So,
So the other thing that's good about replying and small talk in general, before I get to the other part, is
yep.
that it's a good way to test the waters.
Mhm.
So if you want to apply this to in-person life, like those good morning, how are you? All
Yep.
of that is a kind of a social lubricant, but it also is testing out whether or not that person has the time or is open enough to have a conversation. Like if I wanted to tell somebody, hey, do you have a minute? I really want to tell you that budget changed and I don't want to work with you anymore. Or I really think maybe it's a good time to break up. Um, we just have different goals, whatever it is. Or like, hey, I was wondering if you wanted to work on a project with me. It doesn't come from out of nowhere. And that's why auto DMs, like on LinkedIn or on Twitter
Mhm.
X, are so like, wait, you too much too fast, dude. Like whatever it is.
Yep.
That's why it always hits us wrong as spam, inappropriate, unasked. But if you build that relationship and you're like, hey, I really want to do this website, but I need somebody who will nail down the content. Well, if I don't even know you, I don't know if I'm gonna want to work with you because I don't know if you're gonna be able to collect and pay me. You know,
True. True.
sorry. Uh, but if we've been somebody who's talking on the internet, I'll just then it's different. Or been talking at the Chamber of Commerce or whatever, or a combination.
Yeah.
But those touch points keep a relationship alive, even if it's like my 25-year-old friendship with my friend Heather, or if it's somebody you met at a word camp. I was looking at old word camp pictures. I was redoing my speaking page.
Mm.
And I was like, dude, I haven't been to a word camp since 2019. That's 6 years.
Yeah, I'm probably in the same boat, to be honest.
I mean, the pandemic really like literally disrupted a lot in a
Oh,
lot of
other
our
people.
business
Yep.
relationships, right?
Yep.
So here's the second part, Rob. So another good reason to reply to other posts is something that I really learned from my old friend, Robert Nissenbaum from Tactical Social Media. And it came to the front of my mind actually when I was deleting all these blog comments because we all supported each other back in the day.
Yeah.
And it's like on LinkedIn, especially if somebody says blah, 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 and you have a slightly different point of view,
Yep.
this is an excellent time to politely say, have you thought about this way? Like I just responded to a comment right when I was pouring my Diet Coke in my mug. It's a great podcast tip. It's not loud anyway. So Keith Burt, I don't know how to say his last name, but he's bald guy marketing in that Seattle-ish Tacoma area. And he was saying, well, we used to have the no reply emails are so inhumane, I think.
Mhm.
That just goes back to like, but that's my thing. That's like my thing is like bring humanity to
Well,
digital, right?
the problem with no reply emails is what they scream of is you don't want to engage in. Why would you
That
want to get involved with a company or an individual who doesn't want to engage? That's the stupidest thing you can do and the most
exactly.
unprofessional thing. So, you
I
know,
would not call it no reply 100%. If
and
you don't
and
want to reply to it, that's on you, but I
yeah,
would never call it.
but if you look at big brands, especially in the retail industry, all their emails for their specials are marked as no reply. Well, that's ridiculous. If a customer's got a question and you hit reply and ask a question, you should be answering that question. You shouldn't, because that could lead to a sale or two sales or three sales. But if you stand there and say, I'm not going to answer, if I'm that customer, I'm not dealing with that brand. Sorry, I'm done.
Exactly. And so so this is so like the fourth ball almost.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so here's my demo. posting on LinkedIn like he's applying for jobs. You guys, if you hear this, go hire him before you find something
He's
else
great. He's
because
great.
he's amazing. And he
Yep.
was talking about this no reply email when you apply for a job. Why would you
Yeah.
apply for a job and they're like, don't reply to us
By
as
by by
an
by
email
the way,
confirmation?
that was Kansas City just fumbling the fourth and one on the goal line, and you know how that goes.
Stop it. Stop it. Although they don't really play well into the fourth
Yeah.
quarter. I don't know what it is with them. But anyway, so here is my demo. Somebody I really admire and love. And I'm like, I'm commenting just like,
Yeah.
because I love talking, have the conversation and for visibility,
Yeah.
like dude's looking
Yeah.
for a job. And so, and so I go on there, the no replies, inhumane. And Keith, who I just referred to, Bald Guy Marketing, replied to that. So
Good.
here's Keith following things that I'm doing because he gets notified. He
Yeah.
doesn't know my demo,
Of course.
and he's responding to this. And now we're talking about it on a podcast. This
Yeah.
subject that is top of mind because it's being talked about on LinkedIn on somebody else's
Yep.
post.
Yep.
And this is something, and this is huge because so many social media managers ridiculously overpaid overpaid because they don't do this. Like I know of people that are paid just to post something and that's it. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong as a human that you guys are paying people to like not deliver results or even engage with or even build an audience? This is ridiculous.
Yep.
But like if you're a business owner and you have a time for you need to build in those biz dev activities. It's
Mm-hmm.
your business. Like being a guest on a podcast, that's a business development exercise.
Yep.
You have your audience. You've invited me to be part of this. This is like the podcast version of replying to somebody else's post. I have my own podcast. I could definitely keep it going. I have my own YouTube channel. That's not the point. It's outreach.
Yeah.
Business development is outreach, and not enough WordPress professionals, freelancers, agencies, or plugin companies do outreach. And
So what I
this
what
is,
I would argue with you, Bridget, is in that group of companies you just mentioned, most of the people in the WordPress space are good designers and developers, but they can't market if their life depended on it. And if they could market, they wouldn't be scrounging around with the way they are right now. And it's one of the things I notice constantly because they've become such good designers, but they haven't figured out a website is only part of the marketing puzzle. And when they figure that out,
yes,
they would be miles ahead of everybody else.
right. And that's why doing business development things is so important.
I agree.
Because
And
you
we,
have to learn these other aspects of business. You should
Mhm.
learn accounting.
Yeah,
You should be using an actual, I would love to have this as a topic, but I know it's like marketing segment. But you should be using an actual accounting program.
I do.
Zero is what I use. It starts with an X. I've used FreshBooks in the past, QuickBooks, whatever. You should be able to spit out reports and send them to your CPA. I just talked to my CPA this morning while I was getting ready.
I give my accountant access to my online accounting. I don't even spit the reports out. I
Oh,
tell them to go
whatever. I
do them
mean,
themselves. But the point, I agree with you. Like you have to know, you don't necessarily have to do it all, but you have to understand the basics so you can run your business. And the problem is with most entrepreneurs and small business, and I see it all the time, even with clients, right? Whether it's a real estate agent, for example, the real estate sector, they like to go feast or famine. So does the web design cycle. So does, and what these people haven't figured out, if they built an hour to an hour and a half in every day, put it in your calendar, folks,
yes,
and market business development and stick to it. And then
please.
and you're allowed to take an hour a day, and that might be taking a course, that might be working on an ad, that might be working on your own website instead of a client site, that might be planning your social media strategy using a tool like Publer for the week. I don't care. Spend the hour a day, because here's the thing, folks. It's easier to generate business when you're busy and insane than when you're not busy. Trust me on that one.
Yes. And I mean, I know this isn't like, I know maybe if somebody got this far on the podcast, they're thinking, I thought we were talking about the reply button. We are talking about the
Yep,
reply button.
we are.
This is why. So if you're a designer, for example, I'm a writer,
Mhm.
and your audience is mostly WordPress people. So
Mhm.
my biz dev play is being on a podcast, basically letting other WordPress people know that if you're waiting for people to give you content for your website, and that's why you haven't gotten paid, you need to hire a writer. My name is Bridget Willard. You can find me at
Yep.
bridgetwillard.com, right? It doesn't have to
Yep.
be me. It could be anybody. Find people who do the things you don't. For example, I was asked to help somebody start a new business.
Mhm.
Okay. And so I built the website because,
Yep.
5-page website, it's not really that hard. Forms are my nemesis, but I'm getting better at it because it's like doing it, right? But then I needed somebody to run the PPC campaign, or at least to set it
Yep.
up. I didn't do it.
Yep.
I had Warren do it. Warren Lane Nida is a PPC like king. And then if he has any questions, he has Gord Geisler, who's like
Yep.
been doing PPC for
So,
100
so,
million years.
so the
Find
point
the people that can do the things you can't.
you're doing more than that. So let's take that one more step. I have a mentor. His name is Paul Toby.
He's
You
great.
might, and you know Paul, and Paul's a friend. Uh, Now lives in Niagara on the Lake, in a beautiful. He's moved out of Toronto. And for those who don't know in this space, who don't know Paul, Adrian Toby, the founder of Groundhog, is Paul's son, and a genius as far as I'm concerned. But Paul used to have a theory, which I agree with. And his theory when he taught entrepreneurs was if you're not good at something, get somebody to do it for you. And if you don't like doing it, get somebody to do it for you and concentrate on what you're good at and what makes you money. And I so subscribe to that theory. The other thing we have to stop doing, just because we're on this tangent about money, is stop fighting the race to the bottom, please, people. You're not doing your business or your family or anybody else any health. You are not in the dollar store chain. And what you really got to do is take your business and make it stand out from another business. And the best place I would suggest, and Paul would concur, is go find the book, The Inside Advantage by Robert Boom, and read it and then read it again. Because what Robert teaches is how to make your business different and not fight this race to the bottom. And by making your business different, you'll stand out because folks, what people look for is people they like. That is more important than fighting your business on price. And when people get that, they'll be miles ahead of everybody else.
And this is why it's so important to reply on social media.
Yep.
Because imagine if you go to a party, and I'm not even talking about responding to comments on your own social feed, which I should never have to tell you to do that ever. But this is why this is the humanity. It's so annoying. It's a cliche, but we do business with people we know, like, and trust. This is a
Yep.
survival behavior, psychological human instinct, and it will always be this way. So, for somebody who recently found out she's autistic and ADHD, and I would like put on these costumes. I didn't even realize I was doing that. They call it masking. And I was so wanting everybody to like me. But now
Yep.
I realize you should be likable to your people.
Yep.
So if somebody likes your style of working, they're going to want to work with you.
No
And
question.
that's what matters. So it's not like, don't go out of your way to be unlikable. Like, I would, unless you like, I've always, you remember like when we grew up, Rob, and there was like rules about what you talk about at the dinner table: sex,
Oh, yeah.
politics, and religion. Just don't do it. Just don't do it.
Now it's almost everything, but that's the point.
Listen, I used to help campaigns of Republicans in California. That was, and then I like had a turning point where I was like, first of all, I don't want all of this conflict in my life.
Yep.
Because when my husband died, I realized none of this stuff really matters. Now, that could be offensive to somebody listening to this who's very passionate. But I was very passionate when I was young, and
Yep.
politics is for the young people. Okay, so keep going and do your thing, chicken wing. But also, I decided that I didn't want my livelihood attached to whether or not somebody wins or loses a campaign. I'd
Yep.
rather help small businesses and be better. So the other thing to like piggyback on what you were saying about having a sustainable business is picking a niche. And
Mhm.
there's a way to do this. I actually built a Google sheet once to like audit your top 10, like make a list of your top 10 jobs, like by price,
Yep.
and then see if you can categorize them by industry, because we should never have everyone's our customer. Like for me, I work in SaaS and WordPress. So my
Yep.
clients are either a WordPress business or a SaaS business. I've
Yep.
had tons of clients in other industries, and that's fine, but that's not where I make my money. So that's not really where my
Yeah, that's not where you want to
website is
pitch.
languaged. Because
That's not. It's like the resume. You take a resume, and if you're applying for 5 different jobs in 5 different sectors, you really should be having 5 different resumes. Well, guess what, folks? A website's not any different.
right, and if you already understand the industry, so when I was before I went to market, went to before I became a marketer, by working at my construction office manager job, and then doing work on the side, and then I
Yep.
found out I was good at marketing. Before I did that, I spent like 20 years in marketing. I mean, I've written for construction things for like 20 years, and I
Hmm.
was worried at the time that what made me valuable as an office manager was my head for construction policies and procedures,
Yep.
right? And so sometimes it's hard to reinvent your. So then I went to a franchise focused marketing company, and
Hmm.
then we worked with restoration businesses and home inspectors. So it just like what it was a natural fit
I get it.
because
Yeah.
I had that industry experience, and I could still like flip it anytime and just start doing work in construction. But my heart is for WordPress people who aren't building in enough profit in their jobs, and
I
not
understand.
not partnering with other people who can help them do their, like, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yep.
Like, you need help, and if you need help in order to raise your prices, I mean, there's like this point in your business where, like, you maybe you can't afford to hire somebody, but you can't afford not to.
Yep. And the other thing I would say is, if we're talking about pricing and you raise your prices, what you're going to find is you're going to attract a different type of client. And as
Right.
a rule, every time I give somebody a break, I shake my head at myself and say, why did I do that? Because it
Oh my
usually
gosh.
means headaches for you and I. And those people who
Not
jump in
usually, Rob, always.
always, and those who jump in at the high end, and I do some work with some, as you know, some big companies. I can't name them, but due to NDAs, but that's just the reality of it all. They don't even quorum, and they pay thousands of dollars. It's
Yeah.
like here. So the ones that are prepared to pay the money are the ones that aren't going to torment you. The ones that aren't prepared to pay the money, I hate to tell you, they're going to be your headaches. They're going to be your pain in the butts. I just sent yesterday or day before an email to a longtime client who likes to penny pinch and said, "You're not the right fit for my business. Your contract comes up in 2 months and I'm not renewing. And here's what we're going to do to transition." And what did I get back? An email basically blasting me to ever. And it's like, fine, but I'm still not renewing because you don't fit. And
Yeah.
that's the other thing. And not that it's related to what we're talking about, but
It's very related because the
if you
reply button is the humanity.
yep. And if you don't fit for somebody, you need to tell them to go away because they're going to kill you mentally and emotionally like you wouldn't believe. So this is the hardest part that entrepreneurs have in this space is they get into situations and they're chasing that dollar all the time, not realizing that taking on these bad clients isn't good for your mental health at all.
Oh, well,
And
okay.
you and I, and it's fair, and I can say this on this podcast and don't kill me, have both been in therapy and seen people
Oh, I'm
to
loud
help.
and proud.
So am I, to help it. And I won't get into our issues, but I mean, I'm even doing stuff with my partner. And the point I'm making is we're smart enough to say, hey, we go to the doctor to check out the arm when we fall or the heart when we have an issue. So why wouldn't you check out the head? But even more so, folks, look at your life, take a piece of paper and figure out what friends and what people you need to get rid of and do it yesterday. Because you will be so much better off in your business in your life, and then you can get back to working on your marketing, right?
Well, I mean, it's all connected. That's the thing.
Yep.
It's like when you
Yep.
have your own business, it is kind of all connected, and we like to sort of, as much as we can, part it out. Like, for example, I've started using my office again, not my kitchen table, and I shut the door when I'm done. And I'm shut my laptop off and I shut the door.
Yep.
That's like the equivalent of a lot of people taking social media apps off of their phone.
Thank you very
Whatever
much.
method, whatever method you have,
Yeah.
that helps you
Yep.
decide when closing time is really important.
Yep.
But also, when you choose a niche, you know it.
Yep.
Okay? And this is so powerful because I don't have to get onboarded into what a SaaS is. I don't
Mhm.
have to get onboarded into what it is to market in WordPress today. I know you can't
True.
say WordPress hosting anymore. I know you
Great.
have to say hosting for WordPress.
Well,
Okay?
whatever.
You don't
Whatever.
Okay,
Whatever.
but I'm
It
just
dep-
saying, like, just to be super relevant and timely. Like, because when you're in an industry, you know it so well. You know what your clients are facing. You know what their obstacles are. So when I first started marketing with plugins, when I was with Give, and then after that by myself, I know what it takes to market a plugin
Yep.
from nothing to something.
It's a lot of
From
work.
when I took over Give's Twitter account, it had 286 followers in June of 2016,
Yep.
2015. June of 2015, Give WP had 286 followers.
Yep.
Okay, so I know what they're going through. But in 2025, how many plugin owners do you know, or how many plugins in WordPress do you know that aren't owned by a hosting company?
Yeah. Some.
Very
Uh,
few.
yeah. Well, none
Very
of.
few.
There's some independent ones like WS
Right.
Forms is owned by Mark Westgard, and
Some.
there's a few.
There are some. But when you so like even WS Forms competing with WP Forms that's not owned by a hosting company by Syed Balki is this big company now
Yep.
that even though he's not a host, Awesome Motive, it's a very big
Yep.
marketing
Oh,
budget.
I don't disagree. The other thing is too, and you mentioned when you
Anyway,
took
so
over.
but let me tell you my point. My
Sure.
point is you have to know when you know what those nuances are, then you know how to shift your tactics.
Yep. It's
That's
true.
my point.
And the other point is, folks, if you're looking for somebody to help you with social media, the other one, I got an email from a guy and said, "Oh, you need social media help," and I just kind of chuckled and laughed and said, "Have you bothered to look at my accounts and see where my numbers at and see where my reach is at?" And then I went and looked at I'm going to use the word bozo account because I can. It's my show, and I went and looked at his X profile, and he had like 450 followers, and he's trying to tell me how to run a social media account. And I've got over last I looked, I got about 23K give or take. And I mean the point is too is it's like why would you go to somebody who doesn't know how to do it? It's like if you go to an investment counselor, I'll give you the advice, the analogy, and he doesn't know how to manage his home portfolio. Why would I trust him to manage my money, for God's sake?
I know.
Social media in the digital world's not any different.
Right. And the other thing that's an important nuance I would say is that there are a lot of creators
Yep.
who have extremely lopsided follower to following counts on social
Yep.
media profiles because they want to build something so that they can dance around and get money or become an
Yep.
affiliate marketer. That's a different way, that's a different income stream. It's a different category.
Yep.
And it's not how you make B2B relationships on social media
But
by dancing around like a monkey.
most of the good creators don't dance around. I looked at a guy I know quite well. He's released his fifth edition of his book, Ross Brand, who's big into live streaming, if you know Ross. And Ross doesn't dance around.
Right.
He's a creator. His game is live streaming and podcasting, and he's released 5 books of the 100 live streaming tips and digital media tips every year. His latest book just came out in January. You know, I'm not just touting it because I've written chapters of the book. I mean,
Right.
Ross is an old friend, but Ross doesn't dance around.
Well, the only
So
reason why I say this is because a lot of times people don't distinguish the difference between entertainment
yes,
and social media for
I agree.
business development.
I
Okay,
agree.
because
Agree.
all of us in the TikTok reels, even once you get on a video on Twitter on X, it does that same thing where it just goes on and on and
Yeah,
on.
I would agree.
That is entertainment. And like the guy who does click up comedy, I was
Yeah.
like, who is this guy? He's recognizable to me. And then I saw an old Holderness family
Yeah.
video, and I was like, oh, it's them because they did all this stuff in the pandemic, dancing around with songs and being funny. And I'm not saying it's wrong; it's funny. But
Yeah.
now he's
It
big
it
part
has a
of
time.
Click Up.
It has a time and a place for it. Yep.
Well, it's different. It's
Yep.
different. It's like you've become an artist and an actor, and now you're getting paid by advertising companies. It's different than being a social media manager, building relationships with other businesses to do business with other businesses. Those are
Yep.
different things, but they're on the same platforms. And sometimes I think, like even Warren Lane Knight was telling me that in this social media class he's teaching,
Yeah.
they cover TikTok. I'm like, why? That's not social media. That's entertainment. It's
Some
it
people
looks
consider it social media. It's a gray area, right? Is YouTube social media or entertainment too, right? I mean, we're into that same area. Is Instagram social media or entertainment too? If you talk to my partner Tiz, she would tell you it's entertainment. I would argue otherwise. So it all depends. Like we're now
it's
crossing
really it
great
gets really great, but
gray.
when
Yeah.
you're but like my advice for people that listen to your show is stick to the strategies that work for business development.
Yep. Yep.
And the reply is that power move for all of the even seemingly tangents we went on.
Yep. And then
Because
the
you're a human, because you want to build a business in that industry, because you want to niche out. So important.
and the bonus power tip is to find time to do those business strategies. Just book some time in your calendar and get it done every day.
You
And
have to. You don't
yep,
find the time, you make the time.
you make the time. Yep, 100%, Bridget. Tangents aside, I think there's a lot there today, and I think the entrepreneur needs to listen to the show because they got a power move given to them. They got a bonus power move given to them, and they got a few entrepreneur life lessons given to them. So,
And you got some homework. Three, two,
yeah,
one. Follow 3 accounts, reply to 2 posts that aren't yours, and post one new thing a day that links to your website. You want social media to bring traffic to your website. That's your homework. 5 minutes a day. Just make it happen.
and if they want to find more about you, BridgetWillard.com or go by Bridget
BridgetWillard.com.
and go by Bridget on X, Twitter, or LinkedIn. She's always there, right?
Yep, yep, because those are the big four, and that's where I'm going to spend my time.
Yeah. Hey, Bridget, thanks so much. We'll talk
Thank
to you soon.
you.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye. This podcast has been brought to you by Stunning Digital Marketing, your digital marketing concierge to help the business owner put all his pieces together, whether it's email marketing, WordPress security, WordPress design and development, PPC, and more. Text Stunning Digital Marketing for all your digital marketing needs today. A very special thank you to Bridget for joining me on this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much every day. My mother, Ann Cairns, who's still doing really well and is an inspiration. And of course, Tiz Maroney. And Tiz, I know I've said it, but thank you so much for all the inspiration you give me every day.